This saves me so much time. Having the tools you use the most often be a grab away. This is zone 1 of the tools here. This is like zone 2. My last bunch of years of version of primary workbenches, work situation. I do more metalworking than woodworking lately. So metal cart that's very movable and can go anywhere. Really key, not too heavy, just holds the stuff you need. Grinder wheels, some penetrol, some paint, lubricant, gas, welder. The main workbench, which I'll get into in this video. Light. Doesn't have to be, you don't have to light up the whole shop space. That's really bright. That was like $1 when they were having rebates on it. I bought like 6 of them. The whole vertical work situation I'll talk about a bit. The zone 0 of the tools. And, you know, my goal is to keep it. It's really windy out right now. This does blow around a little. My goal is to keep the workbenches clear. These are current things I'm fixing. I've got a jack right here that I have to jack something up, and I have been meaning to for years. This is still kind of hot. This has, ow, it's really hot. So this has like some weird fittings. So I had the anvil out and just finally, you know, got this a lot faster than it's been. I know there's like a hand crank device to this that was misplaced long ago. I think I just found this like in a garage sale, free or side of the road. So this takes a 5/16 bit, so I can raise and lower that real fast. I have that for my changing my tires, my wheels, you know, from season to season for snow tires. But anyway, rest of the video will show a lot more about it, but this is the quick and dirty intro. That works good. So what are these tools real quick for? I know for most people this is, well, who knows? What do I use most often? What am I grabbing 3 to 10 times a day while I'm at this work surface? The closest and most valuable, most used, not most valuable, most often used utility knife, of course. I mean, I often have a knife on me, but you gotta always have another more beater knife. So I should have my GoPro on, but this utility knife's the best one I've found. Tajima, you can break each one off. They're awesome. Cuts foam board way better than the others. An engineer square, center punch for marking, spots to drill, a variety of nail sets, of course, pound stuff in, a small carpenter square. I have a big one in my measuring drawer, a larger 90, tapes, of course, some screwdrivers, fire of variety of various forms, marking for metal and otherwise. These Milwaukee markers are sweet, by the way. I kind of keep some odds and ends in there, and then like small prying device, rough measuring device, rough beater chisel, small pry bar, you know, cat's paw type of deal, ear pro, eye pro, hammer, prying implements, screwing implements. So a handful of screwdrivers, star drive. This is for T27 for, actually this is T27 for steel chainsaws, a 5/16 for hose clamps, a chuck, etc., larger carpenter square, bevel square, little magnet to grab stuff that you drop into a small engine, ball peen hammer, obviously grinders. You know, I now have 2 grinders that I try to keep, one with a grinding wheel on at all times and one with a flap wheel. This is a pretty new addition, but it's nice to not have to change it all the time. So, and then this is also a grinder with a different bit. You know, I was cleaning metal. Oftentimes I'll have, you know, maybe a grinding wheel on that one. So then we get to this side, and really still highly often used tools vice grips, vice clamps, classic vice grips, vice grip wrench, or vice grip pliers. These are amazing. They don't sell them in the hardware stores. I had a special order them. They're so awesome. This is essentially, it's not as good as having a whole combination wrench set in one hand, but it kind of is. This just started working loose the other day. I got to tighten that. Obviously, you got to have a vise close at hand at all times. Can I do this with one hand? Probably not. So I can tighten that up. That'll remind me that has to happen before it falls off. Screwdrivers of various sizes, often for just prying and beating on stuff. Star Allen key, metric Allen key, and SAE. The SAE is in my car right now. Breaking my own rules. Metal shears, diagonal cutters. These don't mount as well as others. These are they're not quite rare with magnets, but they're really good ones. Magnets are key. Everything's got to be put up, unless you have a photographic memory, which I don't. Variety of files. A couple of them are in the other room right now. File brush, just as key as a file if you want it to work. Small brass brush. There's another brass brush that usually lives right over here. And I kind of remember where all this stuff is, and it has to stay in the same spot. And that's key. No one can come in here and move this stuff around. The rare occasion I've let people use my shop is only on the strict condition that everything goes exactly back where it was. And no, I don't mean it can't go back like that. I'm not that anal, but really there's a spot. And it definitely this side. Don't put this on that side. But generally put the vice grips over on the side. I mean, it's, I don't have a specific spot for this Phillips head. It could go over here, but definitely all these guys are in this spot. Scissors, you always need one of those around. Apron, bit canisters. But you should be putting bits, I think, on your drivers anyways. Why else? Why do you want to really search around for them? This was an addition only a couple years ago. I saw someone, just plywood. It's just bolted on here, so it can come off. And that's the thing about this table is, I didn't show that before, but let me show it to you here. I'll prop the phone up. All this stuff comes off. So this whole vise comes off. So does this entire stand right here. See this, I just made this up just welded it. It's just sitting in here and spins. You see that on that. And this whole tube steel thing, I think that's 1 inch right there. Yeah. That just slides in. So I can lift this whole thing off and just sit it aside. And I can take that off. And I can have this whole table. Barring that is tack welded on. And I haven't needed to take it off the metal chop saw. But I can have this whole work surface. And this is a pretty typical workbench fab table design. It's open here so you can clamp through it. I don't use that really at all, although it's in use right there, but not big on that type of fabrication. But I know a lot of metal workers like that. I mostly just love this very flat. It's pretty darn flat too. I shimmed it up so it was, because this didn't come from the steel yard, that flat surface. So there's my cider press I welded up a bunch of years ago. It's working pretty good. So get into it a little more here through the means of a project. Overflow tools live over here that I don't use as often, but they're still commonly used stuff, just miscellaneous. And then, more organized by type of activity. So files and rasps, chisels, planing and scraping, sanding, power sanding, some power tools, planer and joiner parts, saws, the coveted, marking and measuring. So, and then this took me forever to find. 10, 20 years ago was the time to start looking for this stuff, but just stock of parts. That's not really, I have a lot of other fencing, but that's just some fencing. Rubber gasketing, washers, bolts, bottom is bolts. You accumulate stuff over time. There's a bit of value in these, But the thing is, it's all weight. Having extra of this saves you. If you live in a rural location, going to the hardware store, you'll immediately have spent more money and time and value than to just have this whole stock put together on site. You know, and you end up with extra too after a while. You just got to really, really organize it. So these are some candlestick projects I've been working on. I got to get to a local gallery. This woman wants to sell some of them. They're pretty cool. I don't love the shape of that one, but this one I kind of did. Just the wood is super cool. Spalted red oak. So, yeah, but library card catalog, metal. Can't find those anymore too much. And then, you know, I mean, I'm not going to do a whole shop tour, but just getting stuff up on walls, really key. I still haven't worked out my whole drill press organization stuff. I'm scaling up my meat operation soon. This is 1,400 500 milliliter bottles. About to start bottling our biggest bottling tomorrow or the next day. Lesson learned. Put good casters on your heavy stuff. I started with cheapo casters. You know, I tend to start with cheap stuff. I started using pretty good casters pretty quickly. They're 3 to 6 times as much, but they're what you need. I knew I might replace these. That's why I just barely spot welded them in place. I had these, to be fair, but if stuff's really light, not a big deal. But when it's heavy, and 2 fixed casters and 1 swivel, or 2 fixed and 2 swivel. I did all swivel. It has one little advantage in tight spaces, but more disadvantages if your spaces aren't that tight. Oh, and chain falls are handy as heck, too. Another little tip. 5 and 6 inch grinder wheels on 4 inch grinders are a lot nicer. Gotta be careful, but this is really cool to keep the thing from moving when you're really working heavily on it. I don't use it that much, but it does work good. I got another 2 over on that side. Actually 4, there's 4 total. So this one's now in the way. I'm gonna grind that off and move it. That's welded better than these were, so that's gonna be a bit of a pain. Little tip, this is called the Forney brand. A lot better than the ones that come up as recommended on Amazon and other services when you buy a welder. Classic's like $45 for the cheaper one, like 80 bucks for the better one, 125, 130 when you have to replace it. So just get the good one right off the bat. But you gotta know what those are. Let's see how this feels. Oh yeah, that's the dream. That's just very, very soft. I don't know if I'll have to move that one or not. Let's see. I'm hitting the extension cord. That rolls a lot easier than it did. Before I had to hork on it pretty good.